Alright. Bitrate 6000. Hopefully that's better. I don't know what's going on with that thing. Yeah, it looks much better. It's more fluid. Yeah, pretty bad. Yeah, the motion is good. Good. Okay, we can resume that. So, to go back to that, when starting a game, unless the level logic is so good. Pain au chocolat. We're in Washington State, North Washington State. On an island, and we're lucky enough to have an excellent baker. Really good. He does a lot of French pastry. So, to go back to that, yeah. Level logic, unless you have 2 or 3 level logic that you repeat throughout the game, I recommend against having this kind of customized level logic stuff. But like somebody said on our Discord, what did he say? That was hilarious, I thought. Because I had never played that game. He said Skyrim laughs at that. So, never played Skyrim, but apparently the game logic is broken all the time. So you end up not being able to complete mission because some dude you're talking to just gets killed by an NPC. So that kind of stuff makes things extremely difficult. So it's better to have a very contained game with a bunch of core loops that cannot be broken by some one-off cinematic event. The reason why this little guy was crossing over was a cinematic event. I wanted to make it a little more interesting, but that caused problem. Anyway, problem solved. The version switch for the Switch, we have so much fewer bugs than the PC version ever had. It'd be very nice. Although I have to say that the very first version of the PC was much better than what it became when I started adding stuff. My bad. So anyway, let's play a little bit of the Switch. Let's switch to the Switch. So the Switch, turn that on. I gotta turn on. Yes! I love when it works. It's nice. Awesome. So anyway, I'm gonna close that out, I think. Let's switch to the Switch. Voila. We're set. Everything's working fine. And I can switch that off. Because when I start streaming while I have to test that. So I'm gonna add to the Trello test stage 5. In fact, you know what? No. I'm gonna load the stuff, and while I load the stuff, I'm gonna play a little bit. So start recording. Boom. Okay. Cool. So I am already playing the game. Start the recording and move that window over to this window. Voila. So, oh, that's cool. I can show you exactly what happened. There you go. Okay, so we are going to, I don't know if you can tell. The brain bug here is stuck because these two remote thingies, the two, how can I show you that? Right here, you see? On the right hand side, those saw blade, they have a higher priority for the nav mesh collision than it does. So it couldn't move all the way there, so the game logic is completely stuck now. Right. So that's what happened, edge case. So I don't think, looking at it, I think this is a good path. So it's not carb, but these guys are preventing it from moving. And probably the doll as well as a priority number less than 50. Okay, so we can restart the level. See a little bit of the madness of level 12 or whatever the number. Boom. So see what happens when it doesn't get stuck by creatures. It's moving, it's getting attacked, but it's invincible. So see, and it's up, up, up. Can I jump? Can I jump? Can I jump? Come on, make me jump. There you go. So I removed all the things that prevent from crossing, and see how the blue sphere just appeared. So yeah, that's what we have. Oh, the blue sphere, by the way, only uses the reflection probe, I think. Come on. Well, I'm gonna have to destroy you from within. I cannot jump or back. Oh, by the way, the McDROID jumping back is the recoil of the weapon. There you go. That was funny. So here is the madness, which is a nightmare level. And this one, I have so much money. That's new. I noticed something weird. No idea. One shot. Let's see how the stream is doing. Oh, it's stuttering like crazy. Ugh. One day I'll figure that thing out. This day has not come yet. Check your encoder setting, keyframe interval 1.445, recommended to. Interesting, okay. Keyframe interval 2. Alright. So I changed the keyframe interval to 2. Nice done, Restream. The team that made the interface of Restream, kudos. Usually nobody cares about that stuff. Keyframe interval 1.466. Well, maybe I need to restart the stream again. Okay, I think I know why. The entire CPU is hogged by the streaming. So I'm gonna switch back to NV encoder for the streaming. I'll be right back. And I'm back, and it seems to be very smooth. There's very low latency, so I think that's the right setting, and it's in NV encoder, so yeah. CPU usage is much less. The NVIDIA is almost full of streaming. Start recording, and bam. That's fun. All right, so here we go. So this is what the game logic is supposed to do. It's supposed to unleash a bunch of creatures. These are the creatures. There you go. It was, yeah, it works fine. And the frame rate's good. All right, good. And so the game, in the game you cleanse the land. It's what the mission is not showing up. So it's one other logic thing that I need to take care of. I will take a note. Although, you know, who is going to go to the nightmare level of the level before the end? A small portion of the gaming population is my guess. It's pretty hard. So verify, fix. No mission showing up for destroying the shield clamps in stage 5, which is the internal number, nightmare. Voilà. Took a note on Trello. And we go back. Yeah, nice. So see how the clamp blow up? Boom, there you go. And she took care of the diamonds. It's quite a fun level, this one, because when you have so much many strawberries, you can completely upgrade all your turrets to something that is quite fun. Took another note, I noticed a tiny bug. I'm checking if there's connection with the Tesla. There you go. La, my voice is so messed up. Okay, because again, when you have Teslas within range, there you go. They amplify each other. Imagine that. That level would make my machine stutter. There's a lot of optimization went into this release. And URP, you know, even though I always bitch at URP, URP is much better than what we had before, more efficient. Cool. And then there you go. Hello, goodbye. Hello, goodbye. Yeah, the NVIDIA encoder is almost entirely taken, like it's almost 100% full. So yeah, the Tesla are not the best when it comes to... Teslas have their limit, but when it comes to a lot of enemies in close quarter, you have missile launcher, which are really good, and Tesla, which is very long, short range, but it's even more powerful. And it's better armored, so you can... And if you don't want to bother with triggering stuff, you're too busy. There you go. And then, goodbye. If you're too busy taking care of this little guy. Yeah, I know, it's kind of anticlimactic. Would be nice to have a little explosion. Brain bug. Oh, brain bug, destroy, egal, drill. In the crust. So it makes sense that he's writing the Mutatosaurus at the end. You know, I'm thinking that would make sense. Make the clamps like 10,000 HP. So the player has to use Tesla linked up. You guys are gonna hate. It's okay. So maybe I'm gonna do a nice shot like that. Hopefully I get a decent frame rate for the edit. I slowed down the camera a great deal. I mean, I rebuilt what I showed you yesterday, rather. Okay, I think that's good. It's good enough. So we are going to exit this level and then stop the recording and then go to... Actually, that's kind of a nice shot. There you go. And then we go to, what's a nice level? Oh, I know what we're gonna do. That's something I added. It's inspired by, what is that called? Kill the Dragon or something like that. So it's a meta level where you can try destroying the... Oh, in fact, I will start again. Restart the level. It's a nice intro. So it's a level where you have to destroy that guy. It's so much HP, I don't think it's even possible. But it's gonna be interesting. So now we have so many diamonds, I think. Yeah, I think I should do that. Quit the level, finish finish all the diamonds, what do you call that? That stuff. So we have all the laser, all the bliss engine, all the mess halls, all the robots, the Tesla. We have all the shields, and we have now all the shit for the shuttle. We have all the bliss, and we have now a complete set. And let's see if we can... Oh, hey, let's try that one. That one's fun. That one is a lot of fun. Yeah. Whoa. Oh boy. Might be too fast. Let's see if the stream can even pick up on how fast that thing goes. Yeah, it's... I think the stream is keeping frame. I don't know why the bitrate is still lower than 6000. If possible, set the bitrate between 9000 kbps and 6000 kbps. Well, that looks like 6119 is between those numbers, so I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, the speed magnification is a bit too much, so let's see if we can slow down things. Yeah. And then, oh god, yeah, that's way too fast. Maybe remove the boots. Yeah, we don't need the boots. So take off the boots. Voila, better. So here we go. That's nice. That's a nice speed, yeah. It's especially beautiful when you look from above. Actually, that's better like that, yeah. So that's what's drilling the consciousness out of the planet. And because in the beginning we do not have anything, we are using all consumables. That's the whole idea. Is that because it's a persistent level, meaning when you die, and you will die, you're better off preserving your turrets because they will survive you. They will remain. There you go. There you go. So now we have two big ones. It's kind of cinematic, isn't it? And it's an infinity level. That's why there is no slash in the wave counter. In fact, I think I'm going to change it so that they start attacking immediately. Oh, they do. Okay, no need for a change. Then Come on, little robots. There you go. Boom, boom. While repairing them. That's a tiny bit of RTS. I used to love playing RTS, and so I like having units which I can order around to do my bidding. I think it's a lot of fun. And as you notice, each time you buy stuff with diamonds, the price increases. So be somewhat strategic about that. So now that I have seeds, it is time to sow the seeds of love. Tick. See, that's why the consumable, the base price is very low, because otherwise what you end up with is stuff you cannot buy too quickly. Alright, those should have... Oh! Did you see the seeds? And the funny thing is, those things will grow, right? And then, there you go. I cannot let them rot, because my economy is right now so tiny. So this is why having this hat is a good thing. It's usually, it's not the best, but in this case you really need to have the hat. And it's not the best usually because you're really fighting close quarter. Most of the game is in this fairly constrained area, except a couple levels. And the idea is that in constrained area it's easier to teach player to what the rules of engagements are. Of engagement. So now you probably noticed how the this guy targets. First target of these guys is always turrets. There you go. And this is why these are considered turrets. And this is why. So I should just stick around, put the bliss on, and then... Yeah, one of the things about laser is that the longer... I have to check the collider on this thing. Okay. Oof. The armor is so powerful that even when I get attacked by those guys, I barely get hit. I think it's too much. Maybe I got the logic wrong. So I'm gonna have to fix the logic. First thing that needs to be bought in those kind of level is the rail, but we don't have enough moolah for that. But no, actually the first thing that needs to be bought really is the robot factory. Hello. Yeah, what it was waiting is the nav mesh solution, because the nav mesh query are synchronous, and I had to really drop the number of query per frame. And each node, each time the A star thingy crosses a cell, it's considered a node crossing, and it's counted in node cross per frame, roughly. That's not exactly how they call it, but I don't remember the term. And so if you have a very large environment and you have, let's say, 200 cells, then crossing the entire environment is 200 queries. Yeah, makes sense, I guess, so that they can split the damage in case of very long queries. So that's perfectly fine. Alright, my first meteors are coming. You probably noticed the robots are scaling. That's yet another magical effect of that Bugfest, which is that asset mesh animator, which really doesn't work well on URP. Works well on a normal, like if you want to use it, if you want to do a game with 1,000 units, first of all, the game logic needs to be global, not per component, otherwise you're going to suffer. You know, ECS is, anyway. So it works really well in the built-in pipeline, but the guy who made it abandoned, oh, that thing's stuck, abandoned developing on it. Like quite a few people, in fact, abandoned making assets when URP showed up, because every version of URP, they being Unity, broke the, yeah, still happening. They broke every version they break. It's incompatible with previous version. Like it's a complete nightmare for asset maker, and so this guy just gave up and hide. He's in hiding, which, you know, I don't blame him. Can be a thankless task to cater to us all. Okay. So yeah, because Mesh Animator is so buggy, sometimes when you do too many queries, the thing balks out. And the result is the character either disappears or doesn't move. So the disappear, I managed to fix it by not using the shader version of the Mesh Animator, but the snapshot version sometimes balks out when too many queries are done and freezes up. Seizes up, and you know, maybe I'll have a chance to fix that, to find a way around it. Yeah, making game, unless you pre-plan really well, or of course unless you know programming really well, is a game of workaround, a lot of workaround. And I think maybe when you're very good at your craft, like I have a friend who's really good, even then you have to do a lot of workaround. Okay, why are you stuck? Queries, that's why. Waiting for the query reply. So maybe I'll crank up the query. Let me add that. Crank up max nav mesh query when the CPU isn't taxed. Yeah. Although I'm not even sure you can change it in runtime, but I think we can. Boom. Oh yeah, about the laser. So the laser, cool thing, and that was Fraser's idea, is that the longer it shoots and the more firepower is being delivered. Worked really well. And also another thing is the recoil. Recoil was important because when I play games, a lot of time what ends up happening is the enemy keeps going even though you're pounding with megatons of or terajoules of energy, and that makes no sense. Or even if it makes sense, whatever, you know, even though games have a lot of illogical elements, I think it's interesting to use something as a way to push the enemy back. So why not? Usually, I mean, if I had more time to think about it, I would probably have done things differently and split the different weapons in categories. So you really have to buy one weapon for one function. So one weapon would be pushing the enemy back, and only that. Another one would be, okay, let's see, do I have enough for the wave cannon? I don't think I do. So one weapon only does the pushing. Another one does, yeah, see the number, the cost in diamond. So you can only play technically, like viably, playing this level when you start the game. Not a good idea. And this is why the level is locked in the beginning, so that you don't get lost in the options of levels, because there are quite a few levels, like 30 something if you, or 40, I don't remember. If you include, yeah, 30 something, if you include challenge and nightmare, which are level by themselves. They are legitimate levels. Okay, and now we have enough for the wave cannon. There you go. So yeah, going back to URP. So URP is a total nightmare to use, right? Let's not mince words here. It's a complete nightmare because it was not made with production in mind. It was made with maximizing performance for mobile, and then when the marketing guys decided to change the target audience from mobile only to pretty much a replacement to the built-in pipeline, then they had to retrofit the stuff, and because the team that makes SRP and URP and HDRP, or at least URP and HDRP, are separate team and they didn't talk. You can imagine the total nightmare that we had on our hand. And you know, so you know, they're correcting the stuff, I think. But in the meantime, what happened is you have a lot of implementations. Like, the idea is really sound. Scriptable pipelines is a very good idea, but the implementation kept changing. The shader graph is incompatible between versions. I mean, I'm talking about breaking incompatibility. So can you imagine if between like a shader, right? The surface shader. I'm not going to go in my train of thought because I don't think it's a very good one. But surface shader in contrast, yeah, that one is still stuck. I know it's not stuck. I don't know. Maybe I have a piece of nav mesh here that's bonker. So yeah, surface shader, which lived for quite a few years, still live in the built-in pipeline. When you would use a surface shader from one version of Unity to the next, most of it would work. And the version that didn't work either were auto-corrected by the importer, or they were very easy to fix. And you know, sometimes they were documented, other times they were not, but it was fairly easy because I don't know why, because it's a different team that made it. I mean, Arras, who made the surface shader, he was in the demo scene, right? So that's pretty close to game production, and you know, plus he's humble enough to recognize when a mistake is made. So when you're humble enough, then you can fix your mistakes. In this case, unfortunately, the people were kind of hiding. You know, it was a very, very strange vibe. And when somebody like Jason Booth would complain and criticize the implementation, there was not really much positive feedback in the sense of actual work. You know, there was a lot of, yes, we recognize blah blah blah, you know, the marketing BS. And so as a result, ideas that were really, really good that he gave for free, I mean, and the guy knows a shitload, were never implemented, or very rarely. And the shader graph I think is made by a different team. I mean, it's a complete mess, you know. So yeah, URP is a nightmare, but for this game there was no choice. The huge gain in performance, especially when you start adding a lot of creature, was huge. Like at the beginning you get 20-30% speed increase, right, which is a lot. But as more creatures and more stuff gets on the screen, the improvement in performance increases. And I won't say that I understand why or whatever. And that's why I made a lot of benchmarks, because I don't really understand how it works. And in fact, a lot of the stuff that they were explaining how the thing worked were not confirmed by the benchmarks. So it goes back to what I was saying yesterday, which is don't trust anyone, not out of paranoia, but just out of the fact that, like you, like definitely me, people have a tendency to talk out of their asses, and when they don't, the guy who really knows usually is too busy actually doing work, because like everywhere, 20% of the people do most of the work, and the rest, 20% does 80%, and 80% does 20%. It's true in pretty much every industry. So, it's understandable. And school, I know that kind of stuff, and the mentality of, like, who hasn't cheated at the exam, right? It's the same thing. So, don't trust, do your own test, because you will be surprised. Also, and probably more importantly and more politically correctly, every game is very different. So if somebody is doing, let's say, a corridor shooter, then everything can be handled with occlusion culling, the beast occlusion culling, right? So you can have a massive amount of polygons even on a switch if you do proper occlusion culling, and if the occlusion culling is too slow because the implementation is kind of garbage, then you can always okay, let's add another one. You can always do a lot of LOD and stuff like that. But in a game like this, for example, LOD works, occlusion culling only works on one level, which is a corridor. In a Vista like that, LOD. But I'm not even using LOD, and because in my tests, which is really, I know it's kind of strange on the Switch, LOD slows things down. Because the LOD on Unity is not done on the GPU, or the calculation of the size or whatever. I don't really even know how Unreal does it. But it's done on the CPU, so the CPU needs to do extra work and all that stuff. I think that's the reason. Somebody explained to me the exact reason, but I must say I did not quite understand all the detail. And maybe he was trying to sell me his own culling solution. It's possible. But anyway, the benchmark have shown that when you use LOD with a lot of objects like this that are visible within the first run, then it ends up costing a lot of time in CPU. CPU is where you're strapped with strap. So yeah, that is all for today. Hope you enjoyed my rant and my complaining.